In an era dominated by information and connectivity, I guess that means that Threads is still a thing for now. The concept of transparency when it comes to businesses, especially hot toys, has become increasingly a hot-button topic. While transparency is often hailed as a fundamental virtue in the business world, it is crucial to recognize both its advantages and potential drawbacks to the collecting world. I think Walter White from Breaking Bad actually said it best.
What is this?
Do you really want to know?
Ah yes, we would all love a little transparency at times, wouldn't we? Or, like Walt said, do we really want to know? We'll be talking through all that in just a second, but before we do, I would like to welcome back everyone to the channel, and transparently, if you've not yet subscribed, then for real, what are you waiting for? And as I mentioned in our last video, not just here, but across all these different platforms listed below. That's right, as you can see, I have accounts on Instagram for toy photography and to show some reels, and I have accounts on Threads as well as TikTok. So if you want to be caught up with everything that's going on with me and a little bit of an insight on who the man behind the collection is, then please make sure that you are connected. I would certainly appreciate it, and once again, transparently, I think that you'll actually enjoy that too. So let's get to the matter at hand. I don't believe it's any secret that Hot Toys doesn't have the best reputation when it comes to transparency within their company and how they communicate, especially when it comes to controversial dealings and how they are being handled. Looking at you, Toby Spider-Man. But on the flip side of that, it is Howard Chan's company, and he can run it as he sees fit, and I don't believe that there's anything that is stopping the actual sale of products or reducing their cash flow with the current setup. It seems at times that the people that are the most upset with the lack of transparency are the actual collectors that continue to give them their money. But the question arises, do you as a consumer, and as a stakeholder essentially, do you deserve to know a little bit more? One of the primary benefits of transparency is the establishment of trust between a company and its customers. When a business openly shares information about their operations, their finances, sales, how decision process goes about, it fosters trust among those who give them their money and the wider community. But as I just mentioned, to the best of our knowledge, Hot Toy sales are not hurting. In fact, it could be argued that revenue has never been higher or better. It seems that the in thing to do now, with newer 6-scale collectible companies like InArt, is to seemingly overshare. Almost reverse micromanaging, essentially, and they say, hey, look over here, we did something, notice me, and this update. I would argue that it is equally as annoying as not sharing anything, because as Jerry Seinfeld once said,
just do it.
So is there a happy medium to where both sides of the collecting world can be satisfied? After all, what exactly is wrong with a company having a higher enhanced reputation? Being transparent and open contributes to a positive public image. Companies that are perceived as open and honest are more likely to attract customers and clients who value that integrity. That is why on buy-sell trade threads, people ask for a reference to make sure that the seller, or the buyer for that matter, is not shady. I don't think there's any secret that there are plenty of resellers out there that don't exactly have a sparkling reputation, and in fact, there are some that have gone under because of their deception, and potentially more to follow if some continue down that path. A word of warning. All that to say, we know that Hot Toys doesn't exactly tell us everything that's going on, so what about keeping your cards close to the chest? There are some companies like Hot Toys that just put their head down and get the work done, and sales speak for themselves. It's not the fact that they're being dishonest, it's the fact that they just aren't saying anything. So, as a collector, what do you really want to know from them? What, specifically, do you want to know? Let me know down in the comments. So, I'm going to give you 3 reasons that Hot Toys keeps their cards close to the chest and is not an open and transparent company as other companies, and why that is a good thing. The first reason is simply the competitive risks. One of the significant concerns associated with transparency is the risk of exposing sensitive information to their competitors. Now, at the end of the day, how sensitive can toy information actually be? This isn't exactly black ops over here, but as a company, they still need to do what they can to protect their pipeline of new products from being poached from that competition. We collectors know that there are gaps in our figure collection, and competing companies know that too. If a competing company could somehow get some of the information that Hot Toys is getting ready to potentially show a new product, knowing how long it takes for them to be manufactured, they, that being the competition, could easily swoop in, announce a product of their own, and try to siphon off some sales. We've seen it done before. Because of the cost of these figures, people are not going to buy two versions of the exact same thing. And this strategy isn't new or exclusive to the competition. No. Hot Toys themselves chooses to speak out sometimes to fire warning shots of their own. Do y'all remember the hype around the Pattinson Batmobile from Jazz Inc? Hot Toys made sure to put up a promotional picture of their Batmobile in an attempt to potentially let their competition know that they were aware of their product, and secondly, to have loyalists to their brand hold out from buying a more expensive piece and give the money to them. To this day, we still have not seen a prototype even come up for pre-order, so perhaps it was just a bluff, but a marketing tactic nonetheless. Hot Toys and other companies must carefully balance that disclosure information to maintain a competitive edge while still being open enough to build trust. I think that there's a reason that both Hot Toys and InArt chose to delay their Batman figure release, and I think it is apparent that each were playing chicken with one another. Who comes out on top? I guess we won't know until that Battinson finally releases from InArt. Until then, we will just see. So we've talked about competitive risks, but now let's shift over to number 2, and that is the increased scrutiny that inevitably follows the company the more that they talk. Transparency does build trust, yes, but is also subjecting companies to, at times, unnecessary scrutiny. Now, we talked about it a little bit earlier, how InArt, in my opinion, overshares a little bit too much about what they're doing and what they're working on. And I think for this reason, that's, though some people like it, why there are continued delays for their products. Now, I know that a lot of people differ on this, and that is fine. I love opinions. They are willing to wait for perfection, especially at the price tag that comes with InArt collectibles. But being so transparent to where you welcome criticism on every little detail of a product is unnecessary, and in my opinion, hurts the general reputation of a company. As I said, I know this opinion differs with a lot of people, but for me, I respect the fact that a product is being put out rather than being pushed back and constantly delayed. I don't want the public meddling with every little detail, because once InArt does start to scale up and put out more figures a year, they're not going to be able to listen to every nitpick and make those adjustments and still be able to turn out a fair amount of figures that people are satisfied with. It's just not going to happen. I appreciate that feedback is taken, but at some point, the company has to make a decision that says, hey, we are the professionals here, and we are moving forward. I've said it on live streams before, but projects that are continually sent back for review at my job, if every single one of them was late, I wouldn't have a job. Something to think about. Now, of course, if there is something as egregious as the infamous Tony Stankhead sculpt, then yes, I think that calls for public outcry, and Hot Toys does and did make right on that. But it's just not practical for a business to cave to every single complaint that a customer has and still be able to successfully put out product for mass consumption. And maybe that's not your thing. Maybe you prefer perfection, and that's okay, not mass production. And if that be the case, then maybe custom routes are more for you, and that is cool too. But being too vocal can lead to overreactions from people's complaining and their criticism. And just like any crying baby, sometimes you just need to let it cry. Now, I'm not a father of a human, but I am a dog dad, and it pains me when our little wiener dogs cry, and sometimes my wife has to play the bad cop to the good cop and force me to just let them cry when they're being bad. The reason for that is that if I overreacted every single time that Drago whimpers, he's going to become more spoiled than he already is, because he knows that if he overreacts, then I will react to him. And who would have thought that there could be so much wisdom that you can glean from a ween? So the first reason was competitive risks. We've talked about scrutiny. And finally, the last reason is the overemphasis on short-term reactions. The collectible market, like any market, is susceptible as well to hype and speculation, especially when certain properties gain certain attention. Media coverage, social media trends, or even a celebrity endorsement can trigger a short-term increase in demand and prices. Do you remember that time that Infinity War in the MCU was the biggest thing on the planet? Well, Hot Toys took notice of that and made 40 million Iron Man Mark 50s, it would appear, and it was at that moment, I believe, in the overproduction of figures, because of the MCU hype, as well as the increase in people buying these collectibles because of extra money and staying at home because of the pandemic, that things had to change from a business perspective. This short-term miscalculation is what led to the crash of the secondary market because there was just too many products out there and not enough demand once things started to settle down. The collectible space is the perfect place to easily fall into the market trends and fads because of cultural shifts and nostalgia and things along that line. But just because something is awesome one day, how quickly the tides can change the next. All it takes is one of these properties having a bad publicity stunt or something go wrong with their actor or actress to set their entire pipeline on fire. So naturally, being able to navigate these waters is something that people that make the most money and also stand to lose the most money will be doing themselves. It is easy to play Monday morning quarterback and say that you should have done X, Y, or Z, but the people that are making the big decisions behind the curtain have every right not to disclose their next play. And in the end, I think that makes for an exciting time as a collector because who knows what may be coming around the corner. Well, that's going to do it for us here today, but now it is time for you to let me know if these 3 reasons to stay quiet as a company make sense, or do you think I'm completely in the wrong? Let me know down below. I value your opinion. Also, as I just teased, there certainly are going to be some exciting reveals coming this year that none of us saw coming. With that being said, what would surprise you the most and make you the happiest as a collector? If you haven't subscribed to this channel, as I said before, please make sure that you do, because there are some big things coming this year, and I want you along for the ride. Until then, happy collecting, stay warm out there. It's actually pretty cold at this time in my neck of the woods, and I'll be seeing you in our next video.